Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF, GITTEN Mem Hey. We are on Mem Daled Amud Beis, 6 lines from the bottom. Amar Rav Anon. In yesterday's DAF we learned that a person may not sell his Eved to Chutz La'aretz. So if he's living in Eretz Yisrael, he may not sell his Eved Kanani out into Chutz La'aretz. The reason is because by doing so he will be depriving the Eved of the ability to do the mitzvahs hatluyos ba'aretz, those unique mitzvahs that are special to Eretz Yisrael, Truma and Maser, etc. If he does so, if he sends him out, the Eved goes free. Now, question: what happens to the money? Meaning, does the buyer get his money refunded or not? So basically, it's a question as follows: the knas, the penalty, is going to be applied to the moicher, so he has to refund him the money, and the Eved goes free? Or is the knas going to be applied to the customer, to the lokeach? No refund, but the Eved goes free. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Anon. You know, Shamis Minei Demar Shmuel Tarti. I have heard two separate halachos from the Rebbe Shmuel, cases where, the sale doesn't stand, doesn't last, it becomes cancelled. But there is a difference between one case and the other. In one case, we say the money is refunded as well, in the other case, it's not. So whether these two halachas, chadahach, one is the aforementioned halacha, an Eved sold to Chutz La'aretz goes free. V'idach, the other halacha is the itmar we have learned. Hamecher sadeu b'shnas hayevel atzma. One sells his field on the actual year of Yovel. So we know that when Yovel arrives, the 50th year arrives, all fields go back to their former owners. But this fellow sold his field on the year of Yovel. What happens now? Machlekes. Rav Amar mechura v'yetze. Sale is valid, but it leaves the customer and goes back to the seller. Shmuel Amar eina mechura kol ikar. It's not a sale at all. Because if on Yovel fields go back to their owners, certainly the owner can't sell it. It's not a sale. Okay, so we have two similar halachas in the name of Shmuel. One is the case of the Yovel. Eina mechura kol ikar, it's not a sale. And secondly, in the case of the Eved sold l'chutz la'aretz, we ignore the sale, the Eved goes free. Now there's a difference. B'chada, in one of these two cases, I heard from Shmuel, hadriz vini, that in fact the sale is totally nullified retroactively, meaning the money is refunded to the buyer. V'chada li hadriz vini, as opposed to the other situation where no, money is not refunded. Now I'm not sure which one's which. I have two halachas, very similar. Sale doesn't stand. In one, there's a refund. In the other, there is no refund. I'm not sure which one's what. Amar Rav Yosef. Says Rav Yosef, Nechs Yanan. Okay, you can't figure it out. Let's try to work on this. I'll bring you a raya. That in fact, in the case of the Eved, the money is not refunded, and the buyer loses his money. So in effect, he gets penalized. How do I know this? Midistani bebraisa. Take a look at the brisa, which says Hamecher Abdel Chutz La'aretz, right? Yotzel lecheres v'tzarach get shichrur min Rabbi Sheni. The brisa we had yesterday. So Reuven sells his Eved to Shimon Chutz La'aretz. The Eved goes free, but Shimon must give him a shtar shichrur to let him go. Shmamina, it's clear from this brisa, Kanye Rabbi Sheni, that in fact the new owner had acquired him, had done a kinyan, had become his owner. Well, he had rizvini. The sale is not nullified retroactively, as though it never happened. It did happen. He paid for him. He got him. He has to let him go. He loses his money. So in effect, he gets penalized. Now, why do we penalize the customer instead of the seller? The Gemara later will discuss that. So it's pretty clear. There's no refund. V'chi amar Shmuel Hasam. And when Shmuel speaks over there in the case of the fellow selling his field on Yovel, that we say, it's ineffective. Over there he meant Eina Machura Umois Chayzrin. And in fact the deal is batal, it's cancelled retroactively. It never happened, as though. Umois Chayzrin, money is fully refunded to the buyer. V'Rav Anan, Brayse L'Shmieli. Apparently Rav Anan, who wasn't sure which one's what, that's because he didn't hear that Brayse that considers the new owner of the Eved as an owner, and therefore he wasn't sure. V'Ibn de Shmuel, and he couldn't prove from the fact that in the case of the Mechira by Yovel, Shmuel says Eina Mechura Kol Ikar, it's not sold at all. You couldn't prove much from there. Who says he meant there is no sale and the money is refunded? Maybe he meant, it's not really considered a sale. It's not a proper kinyan, meaning, there's a halacha that you can buy metaltalin items together with a kinyan on the karka. Whatever it is, it's not considered a proper kinyan. Umois matana, but still, who says money is refunded? Maybe we treat the handing over of the money as though he gave a gift to the seller. And he has no right to retrieve that money. Why would I say that? We find a similar case where a person gives money for the sake of kiddushin to his own sister, which of course is useless. The Itmar we learned. If one does that, Rav Amar Mois Chayzrin, he's entitled to his money back. Shmuel Amar Mois Matana. According to Shmuel, no, we treat it as a matana because the person certainly knows that there's no kedushin by his sister, and this is just a way of giving her a present. Okay, so bottom line is, there was no way to figure out on our own what Shmuel had in mind, but now that we know the Bryce, that by the Eved sold to Chutz La'aretz, it's a proper sale, and money is not refunded, we penalize the buyer. He loses his money, he has to let the Eved go. Apparently that sale, in that case, that sale is a valid sale. Whereas in the case of the fellow who sold his field on Yovel, in that case we say, whole thing is null and void, money refunded, according to Shmuel. Amalei Baile Rav Yosef. That takes us to the next question. So now that Rav Yosef has told us that when a person purchases an Eved Kanani, under these circumstances, he loses the Eved, he loses his money. So basically, he's being penalized. My chaz is, why do you choose the Kansinan Lekech to apply the penalty to the buyer? Rather than penalizing this seller who sold the Eved in the first place. Why is he at fault and not him? Rav Yosef responds with a mashal. Lav achbra ganav. Ella chura ganav. Who's at fault when the mouse steals the cheese and runs back into his hole? The hole is at fault. Because it's only because of that hideout that the mouse can run away from his pursuers. Here as well. If not for the buyer, there wouldn't be a sale. Amalei Sabai responds, well, you can look at it that way. You can look at it differently. Ilav achbra. If there wouldn't be any mice, if not for the mouse, chura minoli, how does the cheese get into the hole? You choose to look at it one way, but the mouse is just as guilty. Still, says the Gemara Mistavra, it is logical to say, Heicha de Ika Isura, Hasam Kansinan. We penalize the mukkam of the Isser. The fact is that the hideaway and the safe house for the robbers, or the black market customer, is really enabling. He's creating the market. He's enabling the crime. Here as well, a person willing to buy this Evet under these circumstances is really creating the market. He's enabling the crime. He's enabling the Isser to happen. He's encouraging people to sell avadim. And not only that, he's holding on to them. He's actually the one that's going to be owning him and using him. in this inappropriate way. And therefore, the knas is applied to the lekeach. Continues the Gemara with a story involving taking an Eved from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz. Hahu Avda, who was a certain slave, Eved Kanani, the Arak, he escaped Michutz La'aretz, from his owner outside Eretz Yisrael. Where did he go? La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. Ozal Maria Basrei, his owner followed him to try to retrieve him. Asal Kameid Rabbi Ami, his owner comes to Rabbi Ami to try to get the Eved forced back. Amar Lei, so Ami surprises him. Nichtev lach shtora admei. You know, at most I'm going to arrange as follows: that the Eved should write you a check, an IOU, on his own worth. You have to write him a get shichrur. Because otherwise, I'm going to force you to release him. Because the Rabbi Achi Rabbi Ishia's halacha. This Eved is trying to come at Eretz Yisrael to attain levels of kedusha. The Torah says you can't force him out. So either you cooperate or he's going to go free. The Pasuk warns against allowing the 7 nations to stick around in Eretz Yisrael. Banish them, lest they influence you negatively. Yachal perhaps, shall we think that perhaps the pasuk is even referring to a guy who abandoned the practice of worshipping idols? Talmud Leima says the pasuk, no, in that case it's different. Don't return the Eved to his master. So you have an Eved who's owned by a guy who abandoned that lifestyle, no more Avodah Zarah, and ran away to the Jewish community. He wants to stay on living in Eretz Yisrael. And if we reject him, he's going to be forced back to Avodah Zarah. So what's the right approach? Imcha yeshev b'kirbacha, he should be allowed to dwell amongst you. V'kashli Rabbi Yashi. So Rabbi Yashi had a kasha on this whole drush on this price. Hai me'im adoinav. Why does the pasuk say that the guy ran away from adoinav, from his master? Is that the point? He's trying to forsake avodah zarah. Me'im eloihav, me'im aviv, me'im bayalei. The pasuk should have spoken about the fact that he's abandoning the avodah zarah. Ela Rabbi Yashi. Rather, says Rabbi Yashi, the correct interpretation of the pasuk is as follows: The pasuk is referring to a person who had an Eved Kanani in Eretz Yisrael, and he sends him out. He sells him out to Chutz La'aretz. And the pasuk is telling them, listen, he's back in Eretz Yisrael, and he doesn't want to go to Chutz La'aretz. Right? He's coming to you and he's complaining, I don't want to go to Chutz La'aretz, and he's right. He has the upper hand. You can't send him out to Chutz La'aretz. Says the Gemara, the Kashli Rabbi Achi Rabbi Yisha. Now was Rabbi Achi, the son of Rabbi Yashi, asking a kasha on his father's way of interpreting the pasuk. The words don't seem to correspond to this type of scenario. Hi, because what are the words in the pasuk? Asher yinotzel elecha. Yinotzel, says Rashi, a lashon of separation. Brings a raya, Asher hitzel akim avinu. So yinotzel elecha indicates that what? That he's being separated and brought to you. Yinotzel elecha. Right, but here, what's happening? Asher yinotzel me'imcha mibayli. It should say that he's being forced to leave you. Yinotzel me'im, be separated from you he's going to be exported to Chutz La'aretz. That's the way the pasuk should describe. Instead of Asher Yinatzal Lecha, which sounds like he's coming to you in Eretz Yisrael. That's not the issue. The issue is he's being forced to leave you, to leave the Eretz Yisrael domain. Elam Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda, I'll tell you the pshat in the pasuk, and this pertains to our Gemara. Be'evet shebarach michutz la'aretz, la'aretz hakosem b'daber. The pasuk is referring to a case where the Eved was living formerly in Chutz La'aretz. He escaped. He abandoned his master and ran off to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, now the pasuk is warning us, is instructing the Bezdin. Once he's with you in Eretz Yisrael, you can't send him back to his owner. And that's why it says Asher Yinatzal Lecha. He ran away to you, and you can't abandon him. So this was the drasha and the pasuk that Rabbi Ami had referenced earlier. In the case of the Eved who ran away to Eretz Yisrael, and the owner came to look for him, and Rabbi Ami says, look, either you let him go, we'll get you an IOU, we'll get you a check for his value, but don't insist on taking him back. We have a pasuk, Rabbi Yehuda tells us. In this case, we have to let him stay. So that's one pshat in the pasuk. Tanya Idach, we have a different pshat in this pasuk as well. Don't return the Eved to his master. Rabbi Yehuda was speaking about We're speaking about a very unique case. A fellow, a very generous fellow, saw an Eved in trouble. He purchased the Eved on condition. He promised the Eved, as soon as I buy you, I'm going to let you go. So in this case, the pasuk is warning the Bezdin, you have to compel this owner to comply, to keep his word. He can't just change his heart and keep the Eved as a slave. Hechi Dami, what's the case? Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak l'chasav lei, because he committed to the Eved in writing. The kasav lihachi likeshekechacha. When I purchase you, hari atzmecha kanelcha ma'achshav, you will reattain possession of yourself from this moment onward. Basically, what he's saying is that it's retroactive. As soon as I buy you, the shikhr will kick in, and he has no right to enslave him. Says the Gemara, Rav Chizda arakle avdel bekusoi. Rav Chizda had a slave who escaped from him, ran off to the area where the Kusim live. Kusim, as we know, are very literal people. They only believed in Torah Shebachsav and not Torah Shebal Peh. Shalach Luz, he sends them a telegram. Hadru anili, please return my Eved. Shochale, they said, well, there's a pasuk. Sasker Eved al Doina. No, we can't extradite the Eved back to his owner. Shalach Luz, he says, what do you mean? There's a pasuk which says, and he's supposed to return a lost item. A Yid loses an item, you return it to him. So they responded, what do you mean? We have a pasuk, you don't return the Eved back to his owner. Shalach Lucy says to him, look, you want to accept the real pshat from me? This is the real correct interpretation. Hahu, that pasuk is referring to a very specific situation, about a slave who escaped to Eretz Yisrael from Chutz La'aretz, like the drasha we had before from Rabbi Yehuda, as opposed to this case over here, where they were both in Chutz La'aretz. He ran from one place in Chutz La'aretz to another place in Chutz La'aretz. Well, this pasuk doesn't apply. I have a right to get him back. Asks the Gemara. Well, we had two separate ways of learning that pasuk. Rav Achi was one, and Rebbe was another one, right? That speaking where he purchased him and promised to release him. Why did Rav Chizda choose to present him the first pshat rather than Rebbe's pshat? Why that interpretation? Because, as we explained, they're very literal, and to them that drasha sounds more real than Rebbe's drasha that is speaking that he purchased him on condition to release him. So he chose the more simple form drasha. In any case, his point was it doesn't apply to this case. Please send him back. Another story with the Kusim, Abaye. He lost something as well. Irkas le chamra bekusoi. He lost his donkey, which wandered amongst the kusim. Shalach lu, so he sends them a message. Shadroli, please send it back to me. Shochule, they responded. Shalach simana, send us a sign, an identifier to prove your ownership. Shalach lu, he responds. Well, the chivra krese, his belly is crazy, is white. Shochule, well, they send him a message back. Ilav the nachmeniat, if not for the fact that you are this great renowned Abaye, was called Nachmeni, right? We know that you're a trustworthy person and wouldn't falsify things. If not for that, Ilav the Nachmeniat, lo you have a mashadarna le'ne'elach. You bet we would never send it back to you. Atukuli chamri, you think all donkeys love Christ? Sayu chivre ninu, you think many donkeys don't have white bellies? What kind of sign is that? So it's interesting. The Mefarshim explained that it certainly serves as a siman, but it's not an absolute bona fide siman, what we call siman muvhak. So that it doesn't have. It doesn't have that value of siman muvhak, but it is considered somewhat of a siman, and the Chachamim consider that to be enough of a siman to obligate the finder to return it to that owner. But they don't believe in divrei Chacham. So in their minds, unless it's an absolute siman muvhak, an absolute uncontestable siman muvhak, it wouldn't be enough reason to return it. But they did it anyway because of Abaye's stature. Okay, bottom line, you don't sell the Evet to Chutz La'aretz. If you do so, the Evet goes free. The Lekech is the one that's penalized, like the hole where the Mais stores his loot. We have the Drashal, Tasker Evet El Adoina. We have two pshatim, either an Evet who ran off to Eretz Yisrael, you can't send it back, or where he was promised to be released, and you can't renege on those words. We have two stories with the Kusim. Continues the Mishnah. One has to be careful. If Yidden were taken hostage, one should not overpay for their release. Why? Because Chacham were concerned about the community and protect from extortion. So up to their value, their market value, but not more than that. Another halacha, one is not meant to facilitate the escape of a kidnapped person. Once again, we're concerned that it might lead to worse in the future. Perhaps they'll clamp down on future detainees to prevent their escape. The concern is only if there are additional captives at that moment right now in their possession, and they might exact revenge and clamp down on them, but otherwise we're not concerned about future situations which may or may not arise. So let's go back to the first part of the Mishnah, paying a ransom. You don't pay inflated ransoms. So the Mishnah says this because tikkun olam. What's the tikkun olam? We have two ways of explaining. Is it because we don't want to come down too hard on the community's treasury? We're going to deplete that treasury by paying large ransoms. Or is the concern as not to facilitate and enable and encourage future kidnappings? Which way is it? And the nafkamina would be, suppose we're using private funds to redeem them. So the tzibur aspect is not applicable, but the other aspect is. So which way is it? Tashma the Levi bar Darga, that was his name. Parka lebrate betleiser afli rizov. He redeemed his own daughter for a huge amount, 13,000 gold coins, because he used his private money. So apparently the concern is duchka de tzibura, and if it doesn't apply, it's fine. Amar Abaye, well, that's not a raya. Uman leimlan de b'retzon chachamim of it. Who says what he did was okayed by the chachamim? Dilma shalei b'retzon chachamim avad. Perhaps what he did was not sanctioned by the chachamim, so we have no raya from there. Ve'im abrichnas hashvuyin ve'tikun olam. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel ve'takanas shvuyin. So you don't enable their escape because we're concerned that it might lead to worse. So either tikkun olam, which means we're concerned about future detainees that might be treated harshly because of this story, or according to Rabbi Yehuda, we're concerned about other detainees that are there right now. My benai, what would be the difference between the two approaches? Big difference. Let's say there's only one person kidnapped at this point. Should we facilitate his escape? So according to Tanakama, no, because we're concerned about future detainees that might be treated harshly as a result of this episode. Whereas according to Rabbi Yehuda, if he's the only one there now, worried about the present, and since the concern typically is only because they might clamp down on current detainees, well, if he's the only one, get him out of there in any which way you could. Okay, we go on to a story involving detainees. Ban Seder Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman had two daughters. Bachshan Kidra B'Yadayim. So they would be seen mixing a pot, the content of a pot, a hot content of a pot, with their own hands, their bare hands. Kashli Rav Yehuda noticed the story. He was very surprised. Could it be that there are such big, great people that they're protected from the heat of the fire? Such big tzedkaniyas? Ksiv, the pasuk says, Adam echad me'elaf matzasi. I've found one worthy man amongst 1,000. V'isha, and by the women, b'cholelu matzasi. Even amongst 1,000, I couldn't find one truly righteous woman. How could it be that they're so righteous and protected from the fire? How could it be that the pasuk says we haven't found? Look at the daughter of Nachman. They're such tzedkaniyas. So he was kind of taken aback. He was astounded that there would be such a phenomenon, such big tzedkaniyas. So ultimately, look what happened. Gar malu milsa. It so happens to be that circumstances brought about that they were kidnapped. Ishtabyan, they were taken into captivity. Ishtabay iyunami badai, and none other than Rav Ilish, who had observed them and was very impressed, was taken into captivity in the same setting as them. So one day, have a Yosef Gabei Haugav. So there was this man sitting next to Rav Ilish, also in captivity. This man was a talented fellow. He understood bird language. Okay, also suddenly a raven shows up, and is calling to Rav Ilish. Amr Leis, Rav Ilish turns to this fellow. Could he decipher, the calling of the raven? Mike Amr, what's he saying? Amr Leis, he's saying Ilish. Rav Ilish, your name, Brach. Run away quickly, escape. Ilish Brach. You'll be successful if you try to escape. Amar, Rav Ilish responds with negation. Urva, a raven. What does he know? Shikrahu. He's a liar. I'm not going to rely on him. Just like by the time of Noach, the Erev was not necessarily the most reliable bird. He did not actually fulfill his mission. Right? He came right back. So he was circling. He was very paranoid. So he's not somebody to rely on. Okay. Adahachi. In the meantime, Asya Yaina. Suddenly a dove shows up. That's a good sign. And she starts calling out to Rav Ilish. Amr Lei, so he asks this fellow, Micah Amr, what she's saying. Amr Lei, he says, well, Ilish Brach, Ilish, run away. Amr Sir, Rav Ilish responds, well, Knesset Yisrael Kiyenim Mesila, Klal Yisrael is equated to a dove. Just like a dove is committed to its mate, we are committed to Hashem. Okay, this is a good, reliable siman. Shramina, Misrachash Lenisa, apparently I'm going to experience a miracle. Okay, I'm going to run away, and I'll be successful. Amar, so before he ran off, he says, Ezel, I want to go take a look. Achsi, Banti de Rav Nachman. I'm going to take a look at the daughters of Rav Nachman. Ikaiman, Bemnusayu. Are they sticking to their emunah, to their guns, meaning, are they sticking to their integrity, even though they're in captivity? Are they still on their same madreg? Adrinu? If so, I'll save them along with me. I'll take them along with me out of captivity. Amar, so he says, how am I going to figure out their true colors? Nasha, women have a practice called Mila de Islu. Any private things I have to say, any secrets, Sadran la Beis HaKisei, they discuss with each other in the private domain of the Beis HaKisei. Okay, so he snuck up there, Shaminu, the Ka'amar, and he overhears them speaking words which did not impress him. Adi Gurvin. Adi means these. These are our men, meaning the captors are as good as our men. V'nardai Gurvin. And in Ardai we have our men as well, our husbands. Who cares? We'll exchange those for these. We're just going to tell our captors, they should take us far away from here, to the lace inch, so nobody should come, know where we are, and come and know that we're here and save us and redeem us. Well, we give up on our other way of life, we're okay with our captors. That wasn't a good thing to hear, and therefore he just left them there. Come, Arak, Sir of Ilish, got up and ran off. Asaihu, Valgavra. So him and this other man, his neighbor, both escaped at the same time. So what happened? So Rav Ilish experienced a miracle. Of Abimabra, he was able to get across the river in time. Gavra, but the other poor man, Ashkechu of Gatlo, is caught by the bandits, escaping, and they killed him. Okay, Kihadron v'asan. Ultimately, the daughters of Rav Nachman were released and were brought back home. So when they came back, Amar of Ilish explained that this phenomenon of mixing the pots with their bare hands, it's not necessarily a sign of tzidkus, as unfortunately I got wind to when I overheard them at the prison there. Amar, he says, rather havuka bachshan kidra bikshafim. The way that they mixed the pots was using kishuf. So it's less than a worthy endeavor. Okay, continues the Mishnah. Just like we don't redeem captives by overpaying for them, we do the same with Sfarim Tfilim Mezuzos on the hands of a guy, although we'll redeem it, but we don't let ourselves be extorted, we don't overpay. Why? Once again, one of those two reasons we said before, for the Deicha de Tzibura, or lest we go ahead and encourage more of this behavior. Apparently, we don't overpay to repurchase these items. Apparently, you're meant to pay their actual value to redeem these Sifrei Torah and Dvarim Shebekdusha. Apparently, Sefer Torah should to be ad akum, but a Sefer Torah that's been discovered in the hands of a Oid Gecham, Koren Bay, is fit for reading. Otherwise, why would you have to redeem the Sefer Torah? No, Dilma Lignois. It's not so clear that you can actually use it for reading the Sefer Torah. We're going to have a discussion later in the Gemara Machlekes. And perhaps the reason why you take it back is simply to put it into Geniza. Because there is always a chance that it's kosher. We can't be sure, perhaps, but it's a chance. So therefore, we take it for Geniza. We have this halacha. Sefer Torah shekas ve'min. If a person is totally obsessed with the Zara, a priest, or whatever, he writes a Sefer Torah you serve, that Sefer is going to be burnt because he certainly had a mind for the Zara. Kas ve'oid kechavim. Yiganis. If it was written by an ordinary guy, then we take it and we bury it because, as Tosfos explains, according to Rav Nachman, it's not kosher for reading. What about nimtza biyad min? It was found in the possession of a min. He may have wrote it, in which case it's meant to be burnt. He may have not written it. So then you hide it and you bury it. You got it, so we bury it. If it was found in the hands of a guy, ordinary guy, you got it. Some say you bury it. Some actually say you can use it. Because Rashi says there's a double suffix, a double uncertainty. Maybe a Yisrael wrote it, and so happens to be that a guy is holding it, or maybe the guy wrote it with the intention of giving it to a Yisrael, so it has Kedusha. Okay, in any case, that's this Shita. And now we move on to the Sefer Torah, Shekasvi Ovid Kecham. A guy certainly wrote the Sefer Torah. What happens now? Three Shitas. Tana Chada Yisarif, according to one Tana, you burn it. Tana Idach, you gun it. According to the other, you bury it. But Tana Idach Karen Boy, according to the other Shita, you actually can use it. Like Kasha. And this is the way to explain the three brises. Ha the Sani Yisarif, the Shita that holds burn. Rabbi Lezer, the Amar who says, Stam, Machsheves, Ovid Kechavim. When a guy does something like Shchita or like writing a Sefer Torah, Lavetz Kechavim, he had the idle in mind and therefore goes L'streif. The Tana Yuganis, the Shita which says you bury it, you hide it, Haitanahu, is following the following Tana. The Tani Rava Amnuna, Breda Rava, Viparshrunya. In a situation where you have a Sefer Torah, Tefillin or mezuzahs, shekosvan, written by a minu masra v'kechavim v'isha eved v'katan v'kusi v'Yisrael mumar. So all these individuals are not necessarily ordinary members of the community. Either a masra, a guy, a eved, an isha, a katan, a kusi, a Yisrael mumar. So Masr is a Yisrael who actually hands over Jewish property to the guy. It also has a din of Yisrael Mumar, who left the path. In all these cases, we say the Sefer Torah that he wrote are psulim. Why? Shenemar ukshartam uksavtam. Pasuk says you tie the tefillin to your hands and you write it. You write the mezuzahs. So we make a hekesh ukshartam uksavtam. Kol sheyeshnem b'kshira. Anybody that's enabled, that's included in the chiyuv of donning tefillin, yeshna b'ksiva, has the ability to write tefillin or sefer Torah. V'chol she'einu b'kshira, anybody that's not involved in kshira, like a katan or an isha or an eved, and certainly a guy, lahavdul, einu b'ksiva has no ability to write, and if he writes, it's possible. What about the third bais, which allows us to actually use a sefer Torah written by a guy? Haitanahu is following the upcoming shita, the sani, loichen svarim, one is allowed to purchase a sefer Torah from a guy, ubavachi kusum kilchasim, provided it's written properly. Umas, in fact, we have a story. We have a certain guy, bit Sidon, in this town Sidon, sheikoisa svarim, who would write svarim. V'yita Ram Shimon ben Gamliel, he allowed us to buy it from him. Likach mimenu. So that's the third shita. You can actually use the sefer Torah. Asks the Gemara how. But it wasn't written with the proper intent of ksiva l'shma for kedusha sefer Torah. The guy has no clue. V'Rav Shimon ben Gamliel ibud l'shman boy. Look, according to Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, even the processing of the parchment needs to be done l'shma with the proper focus and concentration. Ksiva l'shman like boy. Can we allow it to be written without that intent, without that kavanah? How does that work? The sanya. Tzipan zov. Suppose a person gold plates his tefillin. Or he takes a skin of a non-kosher animal and wraps it around his parshas. Psulis, it's no good. He uses hide from a kosher animal, it's kosher. Even though it wasn't processed with the intent of this purpose, of this function. No. Even this skin is possible unless it's processed with this in mind. So certainly the ksiva has to be lishma. How can you use the sefer Torah of goy? Rabbi Rashmuel was speaking in a special situation. Beger, this guy, so to speak, was really a convert to ger. Shechazal l'sura, he went back to his old ways. So he's aware of the halacha of lishma, and he did it with that intent. Asks the Gemara l'suri, if he went back to his old ways, koshken daveli min. That makes it worse. He's connected to Avodah Zarah. How can you, if anything is worse? He was in the fold and he left the fold. He rejected the halachos and the Torah. So it makes it even worse. Amar of Ashi, no, it wasn't something that he wanted to do. He was forced. He was afraid. So it wasn't something that he wanted to do. He didn't willingly reject our way of life. It's just circumstantial. Rashi says, he was threatened by the goyim. So in any case, it's not excusable, but it can very well be that he had the proper kavanah. We assume that he knows the halacha, and he conformed when he wrote the Sefer Torah. Why not? Okay, so although we speak about not inflating prices, but Tanarabanan Malin Bidmein Ad Kedei Tar Payik. So when the guy offers a Sefer Torah for sale, right? So you want to redeem it from the guy who robbed the Sefer Torah. You don't overpay, right? But you can add a little bit above market value. How much? A tar payik. My tar payik, what is that? Rav Sheshes is ister. Actually, says a certain coin. So a minimal amount you can afford to add, but don't overdo it. In fact, you shouldn't, undervalue it. Look at the story. Hahit hayasa, the aisi chaysa, the tefillin kamed abai. So there was a woman, Yishmaelis, brings a chaysa, the tefillin, a sack of tefillin, which she somehow got a hold of, stolen goods, tabaye. Amar Allah, so he says to her, tefillin, nah, it's not, I'll give you a little for it. Yahavasli, reish batamri, you're going to give me a, reish is a pair of tefillin per date? I'll give you a date per pair of tefillin. So he offered her pittance. Imalia Zira, she got so mad, she got full of, Rashi says, venom, like a snake. She got so mad. Shakla Shadesinu ben Har, she took the whole sack and threw it into the river. And we lost it. Amar Sabai regretted, he says, I shouldn't have negated it to that extent, undervalued it to that extent. I should have given her something more respectable, because look what happened. She expected a high price, and I just machta back, and look what happened. So you have to be reasonable, to try to negotiate, perhaps even if it requires giving a little extra, but not an inflated amount. Okay, perhaps let's stop here and pick up the Mishnah in tomorrow's shir. But before that, let's just make a quick summary of today's daf. So Shmuel teaches us two halachos regarding a sale which becomes sort of nullified, selling an evet to chutz la'aretz. So the sale is actually a valid sale. In fact, the customer is the one who loses his deal. He doesn't get a refund, and he has to release the evet, as opposed to selling in a field during the time of Yovel, during the Shnas HaYovel, where the sale is totally null and void, as though it never happened. The question is, why do we penalize the purchaser of the eved rather than the seller? And the answer is, take a look at the chayr of the achbar, who's responsible for enabling the mouse's escapades. The pasuk says, "Leisaskir eved el adoinav." We have two pshatim. Number one, an eved who ran off to Eretz Yisrael, we can't send him back. Or if he was purchased with the intent of releasing him, we have to keep our word. We never overpay when it comes to ransom, nor do we allow stage a rescue operation in a way where it can endanger other people. We have a story of Bansei Rav Nachman. Then we went on to redeeming stolen Sefer Torah. Once again, we don't overpay, but as we concluded, we're not mezalzel, and sometimes we do have to negotiate and give a bit more in order to get it back. And we discuss the status of a Sefer Torah written by a guy, Yisaref, Yiganes, or perhaps even kosher. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.